What's going on, party people? You already know what it is. It's the BK Apologists. Let's go. Yeah, what's going on, party people in the place to be? I go by the name of the BK Apologist, transmitting all the way live. New York is the city, Brooklyn is the borough. What's good? What's popping? We're here on a Tuesday afternoon. I hope everybody's doing well. I got time, so I'm able to come in during the daytime now and speak to you guys. I see that the party people are coming in. I see D News in the building. What up? We got Benjamin. What's going on, Benjamin? We got Thomas White in the building. You know what I mean? Of course, we got the infamous Phil Fox. What's going on? We got J Man in the building. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? Please make sure you guys share the link so that everybody can see what's going down. Please share the link. So I have the honor today to have with me a good friend of mine's, a brother that we go to the same church. He's been a Christian. Wow, how long you been a Christian now, bro?
22 years now, 22 and a half years.
Great, great. So I want to introduce you to Professor Michael Mullero. What's going on, Mike?
What's up, man? Yo, we got to pronounce that name right. Mujero. I don't do it
Mujero. My bad. Mujero. I know. Mujero. So to tell you a little bit about Mr. Mujero, he's a martial artist for over 30 years. He has worked on film and TV as a fight scene choreographer. He is the owner of Next Evolution Martial Arts for the last 15 years. He has competed in various styles. He is the 1993 NBL World Champion Karate. He has a 3-2 MMA record. He is the 2005 New York Submission Champion. He is the 2015 Korean Conference BJJ Champion. And in the Pan Am, that's the Pan Am Games?
Pan Am Games. Yeah.
The Pan Am Games 2015 to 2019, he has gotten the silver and bronze medal in California. So, in other words, don't play with Mr. Mullero. He'll hurt you real bad. So, but
I'll actually invite you to church first.
right. So, I've known Mike for some time, and getting to know people, you get to know people's stories, and I just feel like Mr. Mujero has an amazing story of just growing up and how he became this mighty warrior, both in the arena and for the gospel. So, as they say, we got to start from the beginning, Mike. So, now you are a Brooklynite. You was born in Brooklyn, right?
Bushwick,
Brooklyn.
Bushwick.
Right.
Yep.
So, tell the party people, how it was to grow up in Bushwick. The Bushwick of today is not the Bushwick of of when we was growing up, right? It's vastly different. So how was it? How was it in Bushwick back in the day?
Let's see. I mean, gosh, gunshots almost every day. Walking from home to school on a daily basis. We'd have to duck between cars or the big garbage cans that were outside because of the industrial businesses in the area. But it was crazy. It was war, pretty much war. It was crazy. I mean, you saw a lot of madness, robberies, stabbings. I mean, shootouts. I mean, even within my own family, my own household, when we experienced all that nonsense, it wasn't just something that was happening outside. It was, obviously happening on the inside as well. So very traumatizing, very crazy. Never safe. You would have to walk with people that because you never know if you're going to get jumped, by a random group, Yeah, man, Bushwick, Brooklyn, New York at the time was just crazy. The cops, I remember the cops themselves, they couldn't handle it. I mean, it wasn't as bad as it is today, but definitely they had their share. They had their handful with the chaos and craziness that the ghetto, in life, right, for lack of a better word.
What was one of the most craziest things you've seen happen in the hood that just resonated with you, it just stood in your head?
A fight broke out. A knife came out. Guy got you. Oh, actually, it was crazy because remember, back in the day, it was cool when you met up in the on the corners and people would battle each other, like with the up rocking and
Right, right,
the break dancing, right?
right.
But I guess one dude had beef with another dude once, and they were up rocking, and out of nowhere, this guy popped out a knife and boom, stabbed him in the neck, stabbed him in the chest, stabbed him all over the place, and people
Wow.
just jetted. That was the most incredible sight I've ever witnessed in my youth. Obviously, when I saw something like that, it was just crazy, and it was started as a dance. I mean, it
Right.
wasn't like it was capoeira, you know,
Right, right,
capoeira.
right.
No, it was like then, and the guy was
So
down.
so while they were dancing, he pulled out the knife.
Yeah, he pulled out the. It was like, you know, up rock. You know how to up
Yeah,
rock,
yeah.
right?
So while he was doing the
Right?
move, he pulled out the. Oh, that's
While he was
crazy.
doing the moves, that was crazy. I mean, it started out
Wow,
all peaceful and calm, and then the chaos, you know,
that's
and all the
crazy.
blood, and it was just crazy,
Wow,
crazy.
wow. So, so from there, when did you first started getting into the martial arts? Was it in Brooklyn or when you left Brooklyn?
No, I was definitely in Brooklyn. My motivation with martial arts stemmed from like everyone else in the neighborhood, right? When we wanted to escape the reality of our lives. It was at 3 o'clock, Channel 5
Yep,
on
yep,
Saturday afternoon. You
yep.
know, all the kung fu flicks, and you know, I was just fascinated. You know, I was fascinated by the martial arts in that sense, just watching the Asians and their culture and you know how they ate, how they act, like the Japanese culture, like the traditional way of life and stuff, and their philosophies, and that inspired me. Um, you know, I guess also my biggest motivation was watching the female Asian person, you know, be as pretty as they were, but also be able to kick someone's butt. You know, Michelle Yeoh was definitely one of my favorites. Who in all her movies in her youth, you know, she would definitely do that, and that encouraged me to like, well, wait a minute, she's pretty and she can kick butt. Oh no, I got to learn this. You know, I got to learn this. You know, so yeah, that was my motivation, wanting to learn. But who knew that throughout that process that you know, we grew up very poor. You know, we obviously in that environment, we didn't have much. I didn't have parents per se to take care of me. I, like most people coming from that environment, you know, you're forced to grow up a lot faster than expected. You know, so you kind of missed your youth in a sense. I am the older sibling of two, so I had to play mommy and daddy many times and protect her because the biological mom wasn't around. And in those days, drugs ran rampant. You know, I mean, drugs, alcohol, and the craziness.
Right.
But as far as martial art goes, my cousin was my also biggest motivator because he did martial arts. He could afford to do it. And so ever so often he would pull me aside and start training me, you know, because he thought I was this smart, you know, I had a caved in chest, my shoulders were popping out, I was massively skinny, you know, it looked like, you know, you would mistaken me for being, you know, one of those Ethiopian or unfortunate countries in Africa, those
Wow.
children there. That's how bad, you know, it was. But, you know, he took me under his wing and started teaching me and training me. And then my uncle, who moved from Puerto Rico, was a fanatic for martial arts, wind up taking me every Friday to the Kung Fu flicks on 42nd Street
Wow.
that played like 5 movies for $2.
Right, right,
You
right.
know, and I could tell you other stories just going through that adventure every Friday. You know, the prostitution on the corner and, you know, walking fast because you never know what's going to
Right.
jump
The
off.
transvestites shooting up in the bathrooms. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What? Forget about
yeah.
it. Oh, don't get me
I know.
started with what was happening in the
I
bathroom.
was there at that time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, those were the two people that really motivated me. But who knew also that my father, my biological father, who was unfortunately murdered uh, in on Atlantic Avenue at the White Castle there in Brooklyn.
Wow.
You know, a man of stature, you know, black man, tall, always had his job, you know, worked for IBM, very militant man, you know, who knew that my family knew that he was a martial artist, you know, and although he was taking for me at 4 years old, they wanted to make sure my cousin, my uncles, and everyone else that I'd follow in his footsteps somehow. And so as fate had it, you know, you know, I'd actually walked the path. But who knew that it'll lead me or led me to where I am today?
Right.
You know, because all I did was grow up with stories about how amazing he was. Um, Up until I didn't know that, you know, I didn't have the opportunity to meet his family up until later on in life, but they confirmed a lot when we did meet, you know, when
Wow.
I did get to find him, which is an interesting story, a gift that God gave me. But that was
Wow.
my motivation with martial arts. And since then, I haven't stopped. You know, it's been something I made a career out of.
How old were you when you really started taking it serious?
Oh no, I took it serious
From day
because
one?
again, being in that environment, you know, I mean, I got jumped. You know, I'm not gonna front. You know, I got jumped. I was bullied. You know, I was one kid that had it in for me all the time. You know, and I remember I lost a fight to him, and I was like maybe 7 years old. And you know how those the old school Latina mothers are, right? This woman broke a broomstick on my head because I
Wow.
lost my fight. You know what I'm saying? And she sent me to my room naked. And then when everybody came out over, it was like the most embarrassing experience that I've ever encountered. You
Wow.
know what I mean? So, and all because I lost a fight to this dude, of which here's a crazy story. So I fight this guy. His name was Tony, and his sister. When I first walked into an establishment that I could afford because it was at a charity church martial art program that they had there, uh, lo and behold, the instructor was his sister,
Wow.
who at first I fancied because I thought she was real pretty and strong, and you know that image of the Asian
Right.
woman kicking butt. But then when I found out that's Tony's sister, I'm like, oh no, what am I getting myself into? It was like a scene from the Karate Kid.
Small
Uh,
world. Small world.
you know what I mean? So it was cool, but yeah, just getting bullied, and I had to really like, all right, I had to make a stance. I'm like, yo, I can't have this. You know,
Right.
I can't let this happen anymore.
What was
So
the
I
first
stand my ground.
style? What was the first style that you was taught?
Ninjutsu was my first style, Japanese style called ninjutsu do, of which Mimi was a part of, Tony's sister. But then my cousin was also training under that school. That was pretty much the only prominent school in the neighborhood,
Wow.
and so many people came out of that area. Um, so my cousin actually wound up learning at that place, and because he was there, I felt confident going there and being a part of it without having fear of Mimi beating me up. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, it was 8 years old. I started with ninjutsu do. I wound up doing well under the instruction of my cousin Paul Alvarez, the late Paul Alvarez, who unfortunately died when I was 18 years old on my birthday. Um, yeah, and it was then that I kind of like, okay, from ninjutsu, I acquired my like what's called the junior black belt. That later on, I wanted to venture into other martial arts, and so I started taekwondo, and I obtained my taekwondo black belt. I went up opening up my martial arts school at a very young age. I was about 19 years old. My
Wow.
first martial arts school,
Wow.
19, 20 years old, and yeah, I mean to answer your question, I've always taken it serious because
Yeah.
it was the main it was the one thing that gave me confidence and let me, you know, walk uh, in and not be afraid. So
Right.
I had to take it serious.
So when did you start competing?
Oh yeah, it was in my teens. As far as taekwondo, I did taekwondo tournaments. Um, I did fairly well. I tried to try out for like the big teams. I didn't do too well in that sense, but you know, I made an impact. You know, I let
Right.
people know I was a reputable foe. So I my first competition was in taekwondo, and then I moved on to karate. I got my karate black belt later on, my third black belt later on in life.
How many black belts do you
As I
have? How many black belts
four,
do you? Wow, four. Okay.
I had four black belts.
And what's
Yeah.
your current standing now in your current martial art? What's your level now? What are you? What do we call you? If I go to the dojo, what am I supposed to call you?
Well, professor. You know, they
Professor?
gave me the title professor 4 years ago. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'll take it. You know, I used to be sensei, went from sensei to Shihan uh, to professor.
Wow.
But I've always cringed when people call me master.
Mm.
And I have my own philosophy on that. I think that ideally in the martial arts, that word is thrown around. And not to take away from anyone, if that's their title, you know, I respect anyone. I don't say that they're not, you know,
Right.
just for
Right.
me.
Right.
You know, I
Right.
don't like people calling me that because I feel I'm too young. I haven't really mastered anything. The only master is Jesus, you know, and in
Right.
my opinion.
And
And
we'll
so
get
for you
to
to call
him
me
in a minute.
master,
And we'll
yeah,
definitely get
yeah.
to him in a
To call me
minute. But
master is not something.
so so you're in this the martial arts, and it's not just the physicality, right? There's a culture that surrounds this, and it's a culture that originated outside of your culture, right? So in a lot of ways, you're an outsider right? Because you're not Asian, right? And but then you're also Afro Latino, right? So have you? Is there racism within the world of martial arts? I'm assuming yes, but I don't want to, you know, from your experience, have you dealt with racism within the martial arts?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yes, the racism that exists, obviously, when you're of color, obviously, with anything, right? Anything,
Right,
it doesn't matter. We're looked as, the lower of the lower.
right, right, right.
If you're white and you're training in like an Asian, or rather a foreign country, that's a little bit more acceptable. I remember traveling to Japan, and training, and they're like, "Oh, Kokojin, so desu ka?" That's basically, black dude, what's up? And then in
Wow.
not so negative way, but it's like when we say in Spanish negrito, but
Right, right, right,
still you shouldn't say it. And I actually don't like that, when people say negrito to me, period.
right, right.
I find that offensive even with my Latin people. But yeah, just traveling and training there, and the environment, and seeing how, the lighter skinned dude would get more of the attention, or the more focus, and then you're getting like the crumbs, on the
Mm.
back, and then
Wow.
when you're beating people and you're kicking them in the face. Like I remember, actually, I mean, this had nothing to do with training, but when I first got there, I'm at the airport and I got stopped, and the airport security says you have to come with me. I'm like, okay. And my girlfriend at the time is Japanese. I'm the foreigner, Kokojin, and they locked me in a room for 2 hours, random, just for no reason whatsoever. And at the end of the 2 hours, the inspector comes and he goes, "So what do you do for a living?" It says here that you're a professional martial artist. I'm like, "That's what I do for a living." He goes, "Oh, really?" And he goes, "So can you show me?" Show you? What does that mean? Show you? So he goes, "Yes, just show me any little technique." I'm like, "Okay, I guess this guy wants me to entertain him." But obviously you have to take caution, because you don't know how far, if this guy's going to
Right, right,
fight you or what the case
right.
is. And but he said, "Show me." So I had to unfortunately throw a side kick and leave it right in his face. Luckily he wasn't so tall, but I kept it there, and he was impressed with that I didn't tap his nose with my foot. Being impressed, and seeing that I was a martial artist to what my application said on my passport, they let me go. But I'm like, for 2 hours, like when my girlfriend at the time asked, like, why? They goes, "Well, there are a lot of Kokojins that are drug dealers and
Mm.
they're coming into the country, and so we have to take caution." you
Wow.
know. And then she told me that, she goes, "That's foolish," But it's things like that, prejudice in that
Right.
sense, And at the dojo, very similar. They don't think American martial art. They don't think too highly of the American martial artists, in a sense, because
Right.
obviously everything's from them,
Right. Right. Right.
from
Right.
the
Right.
core. So they don't look at it, and they don't really give prize until up and when you really prove yourself. But they put you through the ring in order to do that.
Right.
You know.
Which is understandable because it's theirs to begin with, right? So if you want to participate, you're gonna have to really show and prove. So I get that, you know. Now if
Right.
they're being malicious about it, then that's not cool, right? But
Oh, the guys, yeah, they're guys in your group that they don't like you, they don't want you there, and they make it very, 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 very obvious. They're
wow.
like, "No, we're like, yame, yame." You're like, when we stop and they keep going, yet they, and they're supposed to stop,
Right.
and then you have no choice, and you're like, now it's a slugfest, it's something different. You're going all crazy, and you have to hold your composure because you're in their house,
Right. Right. Absolutely.
and that other
Absolutely.
guy's right.
Wow. That's crazy.
So
So
it's just
you,
experiences like that.
no, that's nuts. So you're training, you're an entrepreneur, you have your own dojo, you're out here competing. Where does the gospel show up in your life? Like when does this Jesus thing come during that time?
Well, I'll tell you, I was, going through, as I said, my background, not being so the best background. Uh, I grew up atheist. I mean, granted, my grandmother and people in my life were like always trying to promote religion and God and this, that, and the other, but I didn't really have an ear for it. You know, I remember, like everyone else, they're like, "Oh God, please," like this, but never really understanding what that meant.
Right,
Just talking to the air.
right, right.
But still being atheist and not really believing, knowing something's out there, but not really believing and putting any stock in it. Gee, let me see. It's interesting because now being a Christian 22 years and looking back at my life, God's always been there, and I mean, I got stabbed. I've got into fights. I've done things that I shouldn't do out of, things that we do in the world in
Right.
sin that luckily I got away with. And I should have paid really harsh consequences for, but God's plan, according to Jeremiah 29:11, he made it very clear that no, Mike, you're gonna do something greater. You're gonna do something great. You're gonna do something different. You're not gonna be like everything else. You just have
Right.
to stay on this path, and I got you. And that's exactly how he revealed himself to me. It was up until, I'll tell you my conversion story real fast. It was back in 1992 when my son was born, and his mom presented the Bible to me, and we were already having our differences, and about to depart in our relationship, whatever. And I was so abrupt, and offended that she did it that in that manner, that I smacked the Bible out of her hand. I was like, I don't want this. This is ridiculous. I reject the Bible, and I reject our relationship based on what had transpired. And a lot of that had to do with racism within her culture. And that's the reasons. But then later on, I win the championships in 93, and I moved to Germany for 2 years, which catapulted my career to go to a German kickboxing camp. My girlfriend at the time first got a position, and I started working in Germany. Upon my coming back from Germany in 96, I started getting more and more into the entertainment industry because my girlfriend at the time was part of that world. And she slowly introduced me to, like, doing things, modeling and things outside my profession, but intertwined in a way.
Right.
I worked at a Brazilian band. They taught me capoeira, and there was a guy there who was like hitting on me, and I was like, "Yo, my man, like, my girl's right here. We're here together. I'm not into that."
Right.
And I was very abrupt with him. I'm like, please keep your distance, leave me be, And he kept persisting, like inviting me out. It took one day to tell me, and unfortunately, I had to like get really abrupt and like threaten him, like leave me alone. I don't play like that. 2 years later, fast forward 1990, actually end of 97 into 98, two girls are working at a gym. And one I fancied, and the other was like really nice. But the one I fancied was incredibly rude. So one day I approached the one that was really nice, and I asked her, why is that girl such a female dog?
Right.
She goes, it's not nice for you to say that, and, you should consider, her appearance. I'm like, I am. That's why I'm asking you about it. She goes, yeah, but think of it from this perspective. She sits here. She's very pretty. Imagine all the other people that are trying to hit on her. So, of course, she's going to have boundaries, right? And I wasn't offended. I was taken aback. What struck me, the most interesting part of that conversation was how she defended her. Because I guess I ran with a group of people that, they crap on everybody else, right?
Right.
But with the way the integrity of this individual and how she stood up for her, that it drew my curiosity as to why would she even do that? That's interesting. Lo and behold, I invited her to come to a club because I had a flyer. I was helping my friend out promote. I was helping him promote. And then she in turn gives me a flyer. And I'm like, what? And when I read it, you're cordially invited to the Performing Arts Ministry of New York City Church of Christ. I said, you mother effing people got flyers now? I'm offended. And being the abrupt person that I was back then, she was like, wow, you really have a dirty mouth. I'm like, yeah, this is the way I express myself, right? First Amendment, right? Freedom of speech. She goes, okay, well, yeah, why don't you come to my event if you want to, or if not, I'll do my best to go to your event. And we left it as that. My event was first. Obviously, she didn't show. Her event was second. It was very interesting because, and then at her event, it's so much in detail, but I'll say this, that I had that sense of what they call metanoia, that change of mind, being in part of a group of people. It was church related, obviously. So it was the way they were structured, the way they carried with each other. They carried on with one another. They were genuine. It seemed that first impression, and the music, because it was actually the Performing Arts Ministry. I mean, I met guys like Jeffrey Owens, the actor, there. Andy McDowell happened to be there, the actress, a lot of and models and actors, Performing Arts Ministry. I was surprised, but I didn't go there for that, obviously.
Right.
But 3 months passed from that invitation and my visit, and I wind up looking down at the Bible that was handed to me before I left. And I was compelled to just open. I'm like, okay, what is this? Who speaks like this? Because obviously I have my reservations with the King James, thou shalt, and all that other stuff. Because who speaks like that? I don't speak like that. That was the one turn off with the Bible, and definitely with me. But when I opened it, and it was the international version, obviously English that we speak today, I had questions. So I called the guy up. Oh, mind you, by the way, I meant to mention that the guy that I called, who happened to be there that day, was the guy back in 1996 that would ask me out, that I thought was hitting on me. And he wound up being there that day when I go. Wow. And when I approached him, whether he approached me, he was like, hey, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, she invited me. Oh, so it took a girl. All right, cool, interesting. This is what he said. And I was like, well, you know, hey, you know, I thought you were gay. I thought you were hitting on me. No, I was trying to invite you to come to this venue, you know, multiple times. And he goes, yeah, I know. He goes, yeah, but you didn't let me get a word in. You know, I had to stop because you say you're going to punch me in the face. So he stopped. But I'm like, I had to apologize because his intention was to invite me to church.
Right.
Now, after getting involved with the church, getting baptized, and I'm fast forwarding here, getting baptized, I'm on a conversation with my son's mom. And I tell her, like, you know, I can't engage in coarse talking with you anymore. And, you know, we have to find a reasonable way of communicating and out of respect and reverence for each other. And, you know, she was like, wow, what's happened to you? I'm like, well, I'm baptized. You know, I gave my life to Christ. She goes, really? What church was that? And I told her. And she goes, wow, well, that's interesting. And I'm like, why you say that? She says, well, that's the same church back in 1992 that I tried to get you to come and be a part of with me.
Wow. So
92, 96, 98, 3 different times in my life, God was knocking on my door. And, hey, he knocked. You have to look. You have to, at one point, you have to respond. When the door is knocking, you obviously have to answer it. So
right.
It took 3 different times in my life for that to happen. So since then, 22
God was
years
gunning
later,
for you, boy. God was gunning for you. That was great. So, all right. So now you're a Christian, but you're also a martial artist. How does your discipleship, how did it change the way you as a businessman and as an athlete? How did the gospel change those other areas of your life?
Well, martial arts, when the first word that comes when you hear martial arts, you think of discipline. And it's something that I believe I had already. However, I think it was fine-tuned because looking at it from a perspective of the way God understand or helps you understand what discipline is, that's what changed. Because as a martial artist and you're in the world, you do, and obviously winning tournaments and traveling the world and all these accolades that one acquires, you tend to walk with a chip on your shoulder, like you're unbeatable or you're amazing. You feel, and it's great. I'm not saying not feel that. I guess the problem is that when the ego, the monster, takes over, you know, and you start to hurt people on different levels and not just physically, you know, on a mental, on a psychological level. You know, when you start to do those things, you know, and later on not understand that you're hurting them, but you're also hurting yourself.
Right.
You know, there's no reflection, you know, in the world in that sense. There's just the constant, well, I'm just going to keep doing me. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to keep training. I'm going to be winning. I'm going to be X, Y, Z. God's word put it in perspective to me, for me, because his discipline is different. His views, as he says, are different. The way he thinks is different than the way we think.
Right.
And the Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth, right? Bible. You know, I love that acronym. You know, and when it was first taught to me, it blew my mind because, you know, you grow up. What's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of life? But yeah, Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth. It's right there.
Yeah.
You know, it takes so much for us to really surrender to that concept. You know, God has helped me to understand from an athlete's perspective. Paul talks about winning the race, beating his body to winning the race. There's nothing wrong with competing. I remember when I first started getting into MMA, right? My MMA fights. I went to the minister at the time, Sheridan Wright, And I'm like, I'm going to start this, but it's a little abrupt. It's a little bit more violent than what I've competed in other things. I mean, it is.
Right,
I
right.
mean, you grab someone, you're holding them down, and you're repeating punching, elbow, kicking.
Until they tap out. Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? Or you knock them out, It's brutal. And so I remember what he said. He said, he used to wrestle too. This is why I went to him. He's a man of competition as well, which is great. He obviously opened the scripture with Jacob wrestling with God, which is fantastic. And it was great. And it helped me. But he also said, if your heart is not in it to kill him, amen. It's a competition. Life is a competition. If your heart is not in it to kill him, amen. And I prayed, every time. I prayed every time I compete. I think every athlete does that, right? I mean, I've always prayed anytime I compete, even to this day. I compete, God, please don't let me get hurt so severely. I know pain's going to come, but not severely to the point where I can't do this no more.
Right.
And then two, more importantly, please don't allow me to hurt anyone else in that same manner.
Right.
I don't want to hurt people. It's easy to hurt. It's
Sure.
harder to help. At the other age group. And this is what I teach a lot of my students. It's easy to hurt.
Right.
But healing, helping, healing, that should be the primary focus. And that's exactly what the Bible taught me. This is what God has taught me as a man that competes, as a man that sees martial arts as a tool, and a tool in the sense of where I want to help inspire people, not to go beat people up, but to give them what I got, a sense of focus, a sense of understanding what it means to be confident, but in a respectful way.
Right.
And that's what I mean by tool. But everyone should learn martial arts, I think, in that sense. But God has definitely put it in perspective for me, and I'm very grateful for that. As far as business is the same thing. I persevered in this one particular business for a long time. This is my 9th martial arts school that I've owned. Others with partnerships, and then now the 3rd one of my own. And again, by the grace of God, I've been successful,
Wow.
to have it for so long,
Right.
for the past 15 years.
And it must be challenging now during a pandemic, right, to have a dojo, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, I still have it, but we don't know, we haven't, the phase 2 thing hasn't kicked in, so I'm still waiting. And, even with that, it's just another realm, as they say, of the unknown that we walk into, and I'll deal with that when it comes. But you see, but God has given me the security to just sit and just wait. I can't add another day, right? I can't add another hour to my life. I have to seek him first, according to Matthews, and do exactly what he expects me to do. I have to surrender that his will is just. Let it be via I lose my school or if I keep my school, because from this point he's given me this gift. So I just have to be a good steward of it. I remember hearing this once, that whatever we have, we're stewards of it. Right. This is why the Bible is so clear to say that our treasures shouldn't be made here. You shouldn't store up treasures or build treasures on earth, because our treasures are in heaven.
Right.
And I'm paraphrasing, but that's the goal for me. I'm just a steward of all this. I'm lucky to have this business and the people that have been with me for the time that they have. I mean, I've made a lot of black belts. One of them happened to be a captain in the Army. And I remember when this individual first went into the Army, her captain at the time sends me an email to give me a compliment on their work that I've done with her. And this person is just amazing now. A young captain in the Army, in the military.
That's super cool.
But awesome.
What I want to do right now, I was looking at your Facebook page and I saw some interesting photos, and I was just curious if you could give us some commentary on some of these photos. So obviously here you're the winner. What tournament is this?
Yeah. This is the Pride BJJ annual. This is annual, the Pride BJJ tournament that actually my company, Kyoto BJJ, hosts. Here, I believe this was last year. I think so. It was last year. Last year. Here, you see me with 2 gold medals. I won my division and my weight division, and then I won the open class weight division. Cool. So the gentleman here in the open class, was the lightweight, and then the other people didn't show. Because that's another thing you get. People that get broken, who are defeat. You have to accept your wins and your losses.
Wow.
You'd be surprised at how many adults walk off like pouty kids, man. It's crazy. It's insane, especially in this world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's very interesting just to see the characters.
And this is from the same
Yeah.
event, right? Okay.
Same event. This one in particularly. This means that we took the first place in team representing the most people that participated as a team.
Nice.
My organization, Kyoto, again. The lady under me is the wife of the president of our company,
Okay.
who happens to be a black belt phenomenal athlete as well.
Nice. And what about this? What's happening here?
This is 2 years ago. I think this is in Boston, and the Boston Open. And again, this guy is very famous in the BJJ world. He actually has his own organization name, like a Gracie.
Oh, okay.
Guy was super strong. I fought him for first and second. Very strong man. His technique was flawless. I mean, he tried to do like wrist locks. He went old school on me, like wrist lock, joint lock. I'm like, oh, dude, this guy's doing these things. I got to get out of this. But I was able, at the last moment, I had him on a choke position and I ran out of time. I couldn't finish it. I was kind of bummed out because, when you compete, you're like, oh, come on, I want to get this tap. I want to get this tap. I want to get this. You still want to win by the points sometimes. But yeah, man, hey, any victory is a good victory. So I was able to walk out of there. He was able to walk out of there. And we shook hands. The guy was real cool. I didn't like the fact that he lost to me because I was, I'm up and coming. I'm fresh.
Right.
And I got my black belt in BJJ just 4 years ago. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's
And what's this here?
I believe this is New York City where. Right, this one, yeah. You see, I took third, I believe. Right, the third place. Yeah, I'm sharing with the podium with the third place. These were some tough guys, and I had shoulder problems. My shoulder popped out.
Oh.
And not to make excuses, man. These guys were all phenomenal fighters. They are icons in the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who I happen to be in their same age group now. So they've been around a lot longer than I have, as far as like being black belts a lot longer than me. But my shoulder popped out, and it was terrible because it was after my match when the guy shook my hand, and I guess because it was so tender that he pulled it so hard when he shook my hand that my arm fell. And it wasn't the best feeling. And so for my next match for the first and second, to fight for first and second, the guy, he felt bad, but he had to do his thing. So I held my own.
So you fought with your shoulder popped out?
Yeah, I have a screw in my shoulder I had surgery on 10 years ago now. But this was 2 years ago. But yeah, I've been competing.
Right.
Yeah, man. What is that expression? Mind over matter or something like that?
Yeah.
You just, and the love of combat. I know I don't look it. People like, yeah, but you look too pretty, dude. I don't know. I want to go online, see my fights and stuff. And believe me, I have my war wounds. So this is, the show has been a picture for me for a long time.
Got a quick question from Tyler Lott. What techniques do you plan to study next?
I'm a black belt in ninjutsu, black belt in taekwondo, black belt in karate, black belt in BJJ. I think the only black belt for me right now that I would like to acquire, technique. I'm a quarter century old. Actually, I have to say half a century old, quarter century. And I want to get that black belt to win the prize, man, without sounding corny. I don't think that. I want to be a black belt for God. I want to get my black belt with God.
Wow.
I really do. I want to be able to I've attained these black belts, right? All these accolades, as I said, and I think they're great from a worldly perspective. I've been able to travel. I come from Bushwick, Brooklyn, New York. I was raised in poverty, but that holds weight. But the fact that I've been able to travel the world, speak 5 languages, live in other countries, compete, do what I'm doing to this age, I have to attribute that all to God, and I just want to be the best person that I can be for whatever time that I have left. And so, as I said, I'm very adamant about not wanting to hurt people, but my whole goal is healing and helping up until the point where God calls me home. You know,
Amen.
that's all I care about. This is all I actually want to do. So as far as technique, I just want to be the best Christian that I can be for God.
Yeah,
On a martial art level, I mean, if I'm going to answer your questions, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I like to train. I still like to train with my friends. I still like, you know, I train with my students, kickbox, a little bit of MMA. I don't go crazy. You know, I have to be careful more now. I definitely love the BJJ thing, so I'll just do that. But yeah, that's all I want. You know, I
Cool.
was going to say something like, oh, Kung Fu, you know, maybe learn to do that. But that's just why. I don't want to, again, that would contradict what I want as far as healing people.
Right.
You know, but I love archery. I'll say that. I
Archery's
love
dope.
archery.
I've done that once. Yeah. I definitely like archery.
It's so meditative. You know, I see why the Asians do it. You know, it's so you meditate. You know, and it's all about not missing the mark.
Right.
And that translates to what sin is, because the translation for sin is to miss the mark.
Right.
You know, that's what sin is. And so therefore here in archery terminology, you know, the goal is not to, and to really focus. And so therefore, let it be via my martial art walk of life or my Christian walk of life. I don't want to miss the mark. So I think archery is definitely a place where I want to stay with.
Yeah, there's a place in Brooklyn where they do archery. Downtown Brooklyn. I gotta tell you where it is later.
I go to Queens. I go to Queens Archery.
Oh, okay, cool. That's what's up.
That's where I'm a member.
So, what belt are you receiving in this picture, or what degree?
Here it's a brown belt. This is my brown belt, and on my brown belt, if I'm not mistaken, oh no, it's a purple belt. It's a purple belt, and I'm getting, I believe, a first or second degree. This was like 7 years ago.
Wow.
This picture is a long time ago, 7 years ago, 7 years ago. Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, I think that's it. So, man, Mike, this has been an amazing thing. You've had an amazing journey. The amount of experience and insights you've received is wow, it's beyond belief. So I'm thankful that we have you around, man, because you see things just in a much different way than most people because of your experiences, you know. And more people need to know about your insight. So with that being said, where can people reach you after this video, sir? Well, what's your social media stuff?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I'm on all the social medias. I'm even on Twitter, but I don't really use Twitter. But if you guys just want to see what's the latest, you know, please definitely visit Next Evolution period, because there are other Next Evolutions that are mine and some other people that have taken my name. But definitely Next Evolution on Facebook. So Next Evolution period. And then obviously on Instagram, it's Nema _ NEMMA Next Evolution Mixed Martial Arts Academy _ and that's on Instagram. Oh, in regards to what I'm doing new, I've now in figuring out how I can help my community and people in general. I'm now I merged with a health and wellness company that is just absolutely amazing. The name of my company, I'm on Facebook as well, and also Instagram, is NEMA .isogenics.com. You know, when I did my research on what exactly this company does as far as building from a cellular structure, I mean, as I said, I'm 50, but I'm doing amazing. I'm doing jump rope. I did a 4 mile run the other day. Even with all my injuries, you know, I'm feeling rejuvenated because I'm actually taking this product, and I have to say it's definitely something that's benefiting me. And this is my way of how I want to give back to the community and people that I know. These telomeres. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys know about it, but Will Smith's family, he had that intervention just recently with his family on the red table, and he talked about it, and it blew my mind because that doctor is a very core founder, one of the founders of the company that I just merged with, and I didn't know. It blew my mind. I'm like, whoa. And you should check out that episode. It's pretty cool. Will Smith. I have to say, I love that dude. I like how he thinks. Yeah, telomeres, man. There's an enzyme in what's called it's telomerase enzyme that is in our chromosomes. And the telomerase pills that I take, or the vitamins, help rebuild it from a cellular structure. And it's like the aging process is being reversed. So if you're 50, you're now acting like you're moving around like you're 35. So if you're interested, definitely visit my site. I can give you more information at, again, nima.isogenics.com. Or you can go to my site there and you see all the products that are there that are well benefiting. We always have to find ways, man. There's all the garbage that we eat, all the stuff that's out there. I mean, I was a vegan because Alfredo started putting it in my ear. This guy was in my ear every vegan. Stop eating meat. Stop being vegan. I mean, there's so often you're listening to this. He's like, stop eating meat. One day he calls me. He's like, or he sent out to our Bible talk. He's the Bible talk leader, and he's like, yo, don't eat the pork. Don't eat pork.
Yeah, I gotta.
He cracked me up with this. I'm like, this dude.
It's true, man. I'm just trying to protect everybody, man.
No, you did. Yo, didn't I listen? I listened up until the holidays came, and I had to give it because being Latino, you're eating all this Latin food, and you're like, okay, it's passing by, and then all of a sudden you cave in. But we really got to take, in all seriousness, you really got to take into account all the nonsense that's out there, the pesticides in the vegetables. You think that a bowl of spinach is the same bowl of spinach from 1950s, 1960s? Today, it's proven that we need 12 bowls of spinach. We got to eat 12 bowls of spinach just to get those minerals and vitamins from way back when.
That's crazy.
That's insane. And all the pesticides, let alone all the crazy stuff that's in the meat. Okay, fine. I reduced my meat intake since then. I mean, I crashed. I'll be honest. I'm not going to lie. So chicken and fish is the primary meat source that we eat on a daily basis or weekly basis. But plant-based foods, and another thing about this product is that it's actually plant-based. And that's what drove me to it even more so. So I take a shake in the morning with my 2 telomere pills, and I take a shake at night as a food supplement with my 2 telomere pills, and I'm good. And I was weighing, actually, if you go to my site, you'll see on my Facebook, Isogenic, nima.isogenic.com site, I posted up a picture of what I was just 3 months ago. I was 226. I just weighed myself this morning. I'm 208.3. And that's all in a time span of 3 months. And that's not in the full 3 months, because I would say I started taking this product maybe 2 months ago, in all honesty. I take the shakes, I take my vitamins, the pills, the telomere pills, but I also do my moderate workouts. I'm a workout fanatic. I love to work out. I can't work out as much as I like to. Like I used to work out in Germany when I lived there. We trained 2 hours in the morning, 6 to 8, 2 hours in the afternoon, 11 to 1, and then back again from either 6 to 8 or 5 to 7. It was always 2 hours. I would love to train like that, but my body's like, nah, you can't do that. Maybe a young cat can do that these days, but although I don't fall too short. So
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely visit the sites.
My man Thomas White wants to ask you. A lot of people talk about the spiritual, non-Christian aspects of martial arts. How do we navigate that as Christians? Because the whole Eastern philosophies and all that.
No, yeah, I get it. Yeah, look, they work hand in hand. The only thing, to me, in my opinion, they're missing is Jesus. Yeah, is the bottom line. That's the only thing that's missing in all of that. Yes, I mean, I believed in the Buddhists for the longest time. I believe that the sky is blue, the grass is green, and don't kill the insects. I believe that. I still do in a way. I still encompass that. Like, there's a fly in my house, and I'm like, all right. I often talk to them like, all right, you're here when you're not supposed to be, so you're invading my space. You should be out there doing your thing, But if you stay here, I gotta kill you. You're a nuisance. I don't want to, so I'm gonna open up the window, and if you happen to fly out, I'm good. You're good. Everything's good. So that's the balance. And luckily, thank the Lord, they've flown out. I didn't have to resort to any of that other stuff, but yeah, I think they work hand in hand. I think that the only thing that's missing in all of it is just what Jesus has taught. Life is comprised of mind, body, and spirit, right? It is. Those are, to me, as I teach my students, these are the three most important things in life: the mind, the body, and the spirit. Now, if you feed one, two suffer. If you feed two, one suffers. So the goal is to constantly feed all three at the same time. How do you feed the mind? With what you read. What are you influenced by? How do you feed the body? Obviously, with what you eat, how you train it. You know, how do you feed the spirit? To me, in my opinion, God. Yes, you can meditate, but even people that meditate know that the word meditation is AKA praying. That's basically what it is. You are praying. You're looking at an outer being. You're looking for the out to connect with the universe, right? You're looking to be in one with the sun and the universe and the stars and the moon and everything in its purpose. But we as Christians call it God. We make it simple. It's simple. God, Yahweh,
Right.
Jesus Christ.
We worship the creator as opposed to the created. So
You know what
right.
I mean? So exactly, and that's
Right.
basically that's basically it. So you got to constantly feed all three, and you have to do it regularly. You just can't do one or the other, because if you do, then one is going to suffer, if not two or all.
Great, great. We'll take one more question before we're out of here, guys. So give us one more question. Give us one more question as I put up his Instagram. Make sure you definitely connect to isogenics.com. Any more questions? Any more questions? I don't think there is. Any last words of wisdom before we get out of here, Professor?
Well, we are living in some trying times, with what happened with George Floyd. I'll say this, and it's not something that I thought of, something that someone mentioned just recently. Actually, my wife, who happens to be an amazing Korean. She's just an amazing Asian, smart person in her own right. God uses the lowly. God uses the very thing that we wouldn't think of. And although George Floyd, they try to explain him as being all this bad person, this robber, this ghetto head, whatever. But you see what's happened? His face is now pictured throughout the world, throughout the whole world. And we're not praising him, obviously, for being a person that he did anything great, obviously, that people talk about. But it's just the concept in itself. And that's what's so unique. This is how amazing God is. Yes, it's terrible. It's a tragedy that this person has lost their life. But the meaning, right? What he leaves, the legacy that he leaves behind for us to follow. It was like the tipping point. And God chose that particular man to say enough is enough. And so with my final thought, I have to say, we have to start thinking about the things that we least think about, because that's where God is.
Wow.
We have to do that more every day because of this situation. Let that be a lesson to us all.
Wow. Amen. We do have a few questions right now. Benjamin wants to know, did he say who he got his BJJ black belt from?
Oh yeah. So Fabrizio Medici rather, is my instructor who put the black belt around my waist. But I've trained in various BJJ schools before that. I was with the Gracies for a little bit in the beginning of 2000, where with my stand-up mindset that I can take on anybody because of that chip on my shoulder, up until I got choked out and I got humbled, and I was like, no, I got to learn this. This is something that I have to learn now. Stand-up is cool, but I got to learn this ground stuff. So it went from the Gracie School for a minute, to then Machado family for another minute, to then Fabrizio Medici, who's been my black belt instructor. Currently, I'm with Kyoto because when Fabrizio merged with them, he was their top black belt, one of the top black belts. When I acquired my black belt through him, he decided to separate. So I still with Kyoto. So my now instructor is Milton Regis of Kyoto BJJ, and Francisco Mansour, who, by the way, I have to mention, is one of 6 people in the world to have received not only his black belt, but his red belt under Helio Gracie himself. So, Helio Gracie only gave out 6 red belts at the time of him before he left the world. So, yeah, I'm a black belt under Francisco Mansour, and Milton Regis, who are my instructors.
Benjamin follows up. He says, which Gracies? He said he trained with Warrior's kids, Ryan and Rainier in Los Angeles.
Oh, no, at Henzo School. And at Henzo School, back when he was on 32nd on the second floor on top of the Papayas on 8th Avenue back in 2000, 2001.
Okay. And then Tyler wants to know, have you met DKU? I don't know who that is.
DKU. Taekwondo sounds very familiar. If it is Taekwondo, I'm sure it is because DKU is Korean.
Okay.
It sounds familiar. I can't say that I have though met him, but the name sounds familiar.
Cool. Man, bro, this was good. This was good. I definitely appreciate your time, taking time out to talk to me and to the people, to being a warrior for God, you know, and being a gentle giant in your field, you know, healing people, you know, with the gospel, and if they don't repent, you choke them out. You know, I think it's a great way to, you know, spread the gospel. Play.
I leave that for God, because every knee will bow.
That's true. That's true. So this has been Professor Michael Mullero and BK Apologist. Catch you at the flip side. 1.